In the National Hockey League, stars come and go. Most are remembered when their playing careers come to an end, while others are seemingly forgotten for various different reasons. And on the channel before, I have made videos talking about some of the NHL's most forgotten stars of the 2000s. Today we're going to be doing something similar, but instead for all 31 NHL teams. Before I begin, one thing I should say, this is not all time, this is also going to be just in the 2000s, just because my knowledge of hockey in the 2000s is a lot better than like the 80s and 90s. And of course, if you guys are new and you want to see more NHL content like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And with that said, let's get right into taking a look at every NHL team's most forgotten star. Beginning with the Anaheim Ducks, we have Bobby Ryan. He was a beast for the Ducks, giving them 4 straight 30-goal seasons from 2008 up until 2012. After being traded to the Senators, things kind of went downhill, and Bobby Ryan is now known as one of the most overpaid players in the league, but that doesn't take away from the fact that he was a star once with Anaheim. Moving on to the Coyotes, I'm going to go with Radim Vrbata. I'm kind of using the term star loosely here, but he was a very good player for the Coyotes for many years. He scored 20 goals on 4 different occasions for the franchise, including a 35-goal, 62-point year back in the 2011-2012 season. The Bruins, my pick goes to Sergei Samsonov, who played in the NHL from 1997 to 2011. His best 2 years in the NHL came from 2000 up until 2002, where he had back-to-back 29-goal seasons where he cracked 70 points on both occasions. Not a household name or somebody that a lot of people will remember, but he was very good for Boston for a few years. The Sabres, my pick goes to Derek Roy, who's 14th all-time in points by a Buffalo Sabre with 427 in 549 games. His final few years in the NHL were not the greatest, and I feel like that makes a lot of people forget just how good he really was in his prime. Derek Roy is actually still playing professionally over in Germany. The spot for the Calgary Flames goes to Christian Huselius. I was going to go with a guy like Craig Conroy or Mika Kiprusoff, but I feel like they are remembered a little bit more than Huselius. While he only played 3 seasons with the Flames, he put up 182 points in 216 games. Those are some pretty decent totals from a guy you don't hear much about. Moving on to the Canes, my pick is definitely Corey Stillman, who was really a beast for them from 2005 to 2008. He posted 76 points in 72 games in the 05-06 season, including 26 points in 25 playoff games en route to the team's 2006 Stanley Cup victory. He was a pretty underrated member of that team. The spot for the Hawks goes to Steve Sullivan, who had an amazing career with 747 points in 1,011 games played. His best offensive years came from 1999 up until 2004 with the Chicago Blackhawks. His best year with the team came in 2000-2001, where he had 34 goals and 75 total points. Next up we have the Avs, and it's definitely Milan Hajduk in my opinion. He had a great career with 805 points in 1,020 games played, all coming with the Colorado Avalanche. Hajduk had 50 goals and 98 total points in the 2002-2003 season, where he actually won the Rocket Richard Trophy. He's also second all-time in points by a member of the Avalanche, only behind Joe Sakic. In my opinion, he had an extremely underrated career. For the Jackets, I'm going to give it to David Vyborny, and I feel like the reason that he's forgotten is he didn't play in the NHL very long, played just 543 career games, but had 317 points, all coming with the Blue Jackets. He had a pretty underrated career, and a fun fact is he actually scored a goal on the first Blue Jackets penalty shot in their franchise's history. For Dallas, I'm going to give it to defenseman Sergei Zubov, who played in the NHL all the way from 1992 to 2009. Zubov is first all-time in points by a Dallas defenseman and third on the Dallas Stars all-time scoring list, only behind Jamie Benn and of course Mike Modano. Modano actually came out and said Zubov should be a Hall of Famer, which is some pretty high praise. Moving on to the Red Wings, I'm giving it to the mule Johan Franzen. When he was at his best, in my opinion, he was one of the best power forwards in the entire NHL. Franzen had 370 career points in 602 games, a 4-time 20-goal scorer, a career-high 34 goals in the 08-09 season. He was also a big-time playoff performer. Overall, just a really good career. The Oilers, I'm going to give this spot to Sheldon Souray, who had a pretty interesting career. He had 2 very good years in the NHL, but outside of that, it was either a mediocre year or he battled with injury. But in the 08-09 season, he was a beast for the Edmonton Oilers, putting up 53 points in 81 games, 23 goals, which for a defenseman is obviously very good. In that one season, he was definitely a star for Edmonton. Just want to jump in and say one quick thing here. If you guys are a fan of the NBA as well, I have an NBA channel. Link to that will be down below in the description. I posted a video on there a couple days ago. Gonna try to post twice a week over there, so if that's something you're interested in, go check it out. And now back to the video. Next up, we have the Panthers. I'm going to give it to Stephen Weiss, who's 4th all-time in points by a Panther with 394, only behind Barkov, Jokinen, and Huberdeau. The highlight of his career was back-to-back 60-point seasons from 2008 to 2010, and then in the summer of 2013, he signed with the Red Wings, which was kind of the end of his career. Things really didn't work out there. The LA Kings spot goes to defenseman Lubomir Wisnowski, who I feel like throughout his career was a pretty underrated offensive defenseman. With the Kings, he had a 67-point season in 05-06, and then followed that up with 58 points in the 06-07 year. As of right now, he's 5th all-time for the LA Kings in points by a defenseman with 279 in 499 games. The spot for Minnesota goes to Pierre Bouchard, who they took with the 8th overall pick in the 2002 NHL draft. His best span in the NHL came from 2005 up until 2008, where he had a 59-point season, a 57-point season, and a career-high 63-point season. After these 3 years, though, he really struggled to stay healthy, and that was kind of the downfall of his career. I'm going to give the spot for the Habs to Alex Kovalev, and I feel like the reason he's forgotten, with the Habs at least, is because he didn't start playing for them until he was 30 years old. He played for the Rangers and the Penguins before that, but man did he ever have a couple of good years in Montreal. 84 points in 82 games in 07-08. If you've never seen him play, I recommend going to watch some of his highlights on YouTube. He had an unbelievable shot. For Nashville, I'm going to give it to Jason Arnott. He played in the NHL from 1993 all the way up until 2012, playing for the Oilers, the Devils, the Stars, the Predators, the Capitals, and the St. Louis Blues. His best offensive years came with the Predators later in his career. He put up a career-high 72 points in 07-08 when he was 32 years old. He also served as Nashville's captain for a little while. The spot for the Devils goes to longtime captain Jamie Langenbrunner, who played for the team from 2001 up until 2011. Over 9 years with the Devils, Langenbrunner put up 385 points in 564 games, a really solid career with them. He also captained Team USA to a silver medal at the 2010 Olympics. Moving on to the Islanders, I'm going to go with Michael Pekka. Only played there for 3 seasons, but he did serve as captain for a little while and also had a 25-goal, 60-point year in the 01-02 season. After his stint with the Islanders, he went on to finish his career with the Blue Jackets in 08-09. The spot for the Rangers goes to Chris Drury. Aside from being a Little League World Series hero as a kid, he also turned out to be a pretty solid NHL player, playing 892 career games and putting up 615 career points. The final 4 seasons of his career came with the New York Rangers, and I'm kind of using the term star loosely here for him because he wasn't really a star around the league, but he was one of the Ranger stars. Ottawa. This spot definitely goes to Dany Heatley. I feel like he is remembered, but it's only because of the meme Twitter account that somebody made, and I feel like that kind of makes people forget how good of a player he really was. Back-to-back 50-goal, 100-point seasons in 05-06 and 06-07, he was really a beast for Ottawa for a couple of years. Next up we have Philly, and I'm going to go with Simon Gagne, their 22nd overall pick in the 1998 NHL draft. Gagne played for the Flyers from 1999 up until 2010, and those are where he had his best years in the NHL for sure. Even though he isn't a name you're going to hear a lot, he's actually 12th all-time in points by a member of the Philadelphia Flyers with 535. The Penguins. I was going to give it to Ryan Whitney, but with Spittin' Chicklets, I feel like he's now one of the most well-known names in the hockey world, so instead I'm going to go with Peter Sakura. Out of his 1,000-game career, he only played for the Penguins for 2 seasons, but he scored 25 or more goals in both of those years, and actually had 63 points in the 07-08 season. I feel like he's one of the forgotten stars of that team. The Sharks was an easy pick. It's gotta be Jonathan Cheechoo. I mean, he won the Rocket Richard Trophy in the 05-06 season with 56 goals, had 93 points, and was then out of the NHL entirely just 4 years later. For 2 seasons, he was a star for San Jose, but shortly after, he was then an AHL player and finished his career over in the KHL. St. Louis. This spot, in my opinion, has to go to Brad Boyes. From 2007 up until 2011, he was a beast for the Blues. He actually led the team in scoring in the 08-09 season with 72 points in 82 games. The final couple of years of his career weren't the greatest. I feel like that's the biggest reason he's kind of forgotten, but overall he had a really good career. The spot for the Lightning, I'm gonna give it to Vinny Prospal, who's actually 7th all-time in points by a member of the Lightning with 371 in 468 games. Prospal actually had 2 different stints with the Lightning throughout his career and just always seemed to produce for them, but for me, I remember him most for when he played on the Blue Jackets, and it was against the Red Wings. He actually pointed to the scoreboard when they were beating Detroit after he got in a fight with a player. I found that kind of hilarious. Moving on to the Leafs, I'm gonna give it to defenseman Brian McCabe, who played with the Maple Leafs from 2000 up until 2008, and man was he ever an amazing two-way defenseman for them. He could give you a ton of points from the blue line. He could also get a ton of penalty minutes and step up and be the tough guy when he needed to. The current Toronto Maple Leafs would probably love to have a prime Brian McCabe on their team right now. The spot for the Canucks definitely goes to Marcus Naslund. Now, he did do a lot of his damage in the 90s, but his best span in the NHL came from 2001 up until 2004. That was highlighted by a 104-point season in 02-03. Throughout that span, Marcus Naslund was definitely one of the top players in the league. The Golden Knights have only been around for 3 seasons, so it's too early to tell, so moving on to Washington, and my pick for them definitely has to be Russian winger Alexander Semin. At one point, Semin looked like he was one of the brightest young stars in the entire NHL for Washington. He had 84 points, 40 goals in the 2009-10 season as a 25-year-old, but after that, things went downhill rather quickly for Semin. A big reason why was his work ethic. It was often questioned by teammates, and then after a stint with Carolina, a stint with Montreal, he would return to the KHL in 2015, where he still currently plays. And lastly, the Jets. My pick has to be Andrew Ladd, who played for the Winnipeg Jets from 2011 up until 2016. Andrew Ladd served as their captain and had a couple of really good offensive seasons, while now he's kind of just looked at as one of the worst contracts in the league, and I feel like that might make some people forget how good he was in his prime. That is going to wrap up today's video. I really hope you guys did enjoy. This one took a long time to make. I put a lot of effort into it. It was a lot of fun. So if you did enjoy, please make sure to go down there and drop a like on it. Let's try to hit 1,000 likes on this video. And of course, if you do disagree with any of my picks, make sure to let me know what yours would be down in the comment section below. And with all that said, if you guys are new and you want to see more NHL content like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys all in the next video.